All right, guys, so before we show you the car and I take you for a road test and discuss some of my thoughts on the KW DDC kit, I just want to explain some very important things if you guys plan on doing the installation yourself or if you're going to go to a shop and get it done. First order of business we have here, these are the rear OEM spring insulators. These go in the back of the car on top of the OEM spring and in the bottom of the spring seat, which is part of the lower control arm. So when you do the DDC kit, you must remove all 4 of these from the car. Just FYI, do not try to reuse these. You're going to have a problem. So we're going to put those to the side. Also, you're also going to need a nice set of E-Torques. To disassemble the factory suspension, you're going to need E-Torques. So this is a nice little kit, and I'll put links to some of these tools if you guys want to go out there and get them yourself. This is going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Now, besides the E-Torques, one of the most important tools that you're going to need, and believe it or not, a lot of dealerships and a lot of independent shops do not have these. These are called strut sockets. If you see carefully, it's a conventional socket that has a cutaway here, specifically to disassemble struts that have active suspension with the wire going through it. So on the bench, I got one of the rear shocks, and you can see here how this works. You get it on there, and you can get your tool, and you can disassemble the top mount. Now on my car, when I did it, I replaced and I bought all new top mounts, but I just wanted to show you guys you're going to need a 16mm strut socket to disassemble the OEM parts if you're going to reuse the upper mounts. If you're going to buy new upper mounts from Alfa Romeo or do an aftermarket monoball setup, then you're only going to need a 19mm for the new nuts that come on the KW DDC shock body. So FYI, there's also, I'll put a couple of links to where you guys can buy some of this stuff as well, because if you don't use this and you damage the wiring, you are going to get fault codes all over the dash and you're going to have nothing but problems. So definitely consider investing in some tools. Now, the DDC kit also comes with this little kit right here, which is going to give you the instruction manual. You're going to get 2 spanner wrenches. You're going to get one of these adjusters, which does not apply to this kit, and some other stuff as well. You're only going to need 1 spanner wrench to adjust it. So just want to give you guys a heads up, because you're probably wondering on how I set my adjustments up. So they give you a variance range where you'll see A and A. So they'll give you some sort of a variance, which is listed up here in millimeters. I usually take that number and I do like 3/4 percentage from here to here, and that's pretty much how I set my ride height. And I also set the ride height based on the lowering springs that I had in the car prior. So when you get the guide, you're going to go through it, and then you're going to see some numbers, and it tells you how to disconnect the wiring and all of that. You got to be very careful with the active suspension wiring, because you can damage that quickly. So just a couple of little tips on the installation that I just wanted to show you guys. So just going to need a couple of tools. That's pretty much it. You don't want to break anything. So let's go out to the car. I'm going to show you guys the stance. We'll get the camera in the car. We'll go for a drive, and I'll tell you all about 2,000 miles so far on the KW DDC kit on my 2018 Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. All right, guys, just want to give you guys some visual. I think I showed you guys some of this in the 3-year ownership video, but just so if you guys want a reference for ride height and just kind of see where I'm at, I got the car pretty low. I can't get 2 fingers in there on the front wheel. Now, that's actually lower than the KW ST springs, and out back, same deal. I can't get 2 fingers. I can get 1 finger in there. So if you guys want a little bit of a reference. So the way I set the car up, I dropped the rear a 1/4 inch and I dropped the front a 1/2 inch, about 1/2 inch or 3/8 versus the KW ST springs. And if you look at the car in the camera, it has more of a powerful rake, and that's kind of like what I was going for when I did this. Now, another thing you guys are probably going to be concerned about is smashing the front bumper. So just to show you guys, I could actually get my full foot and sneaker underneath the front bumper, no issues whatsoever. So the car is pretty damn low, but I'm going to be honest with you, ever since I installed the KW DDC kit, it's now 2,000 miles, I have not once bottomed out that front bumper anywhere. Usually if I'm in a parking lot for a grocery store to have some kind of speed humps, I switch the suspension into race mode that firms up the dampeners, and that's pretty much all I do. I have not had any damage. I have not bottomed out the front at all since I've done that, because the situation when you do the lowering springs on the earlier cars, the shock valving is just not good enough in my opinion. So what happens is you get a seesaw effect. The car bounces in the front, bounces in the back, and it teeters back and forth, back and forth. So when you're going over bumps, it just makes the car feel very, very irregular and very uneasy. And it's just been a complaint I've had ever since day one of owning the car. Now on the 21 QV, it did not do that, which means that either the shock hardware or the suspension tuning is completely and vastly changed. But we're not going to really talk about that now because I didn't install this kit on the 21 because KW engineers told me they never tested it and they would not verify if that would work on the newer cars with the updates to the CAN bus module. So I don't really know about that. So if you guys can see, the car looks awesome. It feels awesome. It's, you know, like I said, it's an expensive upgrade. It's almost $4,000. It took me several months to get it. But to be honest with you, if I didn't get this upgrade, I probably would still be complaining about the lowering springs. I mean, like I said, you know, you lower the car, you dial in the alignment, it makes a huge improvement of the handling. But if you can't get that shock tuning exactly where you want it, you're really never going to maximize this chassis. So when I get in the car, we're going to go for a drive. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the upgrade and some of the significant changes that it made on the car as far as improvements, not only daily driving it, but high-speed maneuvers, handling, bumps, everything in between. So I'm gonna get the camera in the car right now. We're gonna go for a drive and I'll talk more about the KW DDC kit on the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. All right, guys, so we're in the car. I'm in dynamic mode now, which is pretty much like the normal setting. I'd never use A or N, but just to show you guys, I could click natural or the A, which is the efficiency mode, and all the functions still work. There's no fault codes because the KW DDC kit integrates perfectly with the OEM CAN bus electronics and the adaptive shocks. Now, the one thing which was a misconception when I ordered this kit, when you go online and you look at some of these KW kits, they say that they have a, you know, it's a plug and play and it comes with an external module, what they call like a Bluetooth module. Now, I thought that this kit was going to come with that, whereas you could download the app on your telephone, on your smartphone, and you could alter the dampening between front axle and rear axle. But unfortunately, this kit is not set up like that, and I found out the hard way by getting it and saying, hey, there's missing parts in the box. But they said, no, this kit is not applicable to that upgrade. So not a huge deal, but to be honest with you, I think out of the box, this is an outstanding upgrade for anybody that's driving on the street and that's just really tired of, you know, the lowering springs and the choppiness, especially the choppiness in the rear. Now, you know, we're on some local roads and I want to hit some bumps just so you guys can get a good visual in the camera that's on the outside of the car to see exactly how the dampening is working. So we're in dynamic mode now and it's firmer, but it's way more controlled than OEM. And it's way more controlled than just doing the lowering springs, okay, which most of you guys do. So there's really not a lot of options out there, you know, as far as doing a full modification on this car, as far as a race coilover kit, unless you're willing to buy the KW defeat modules, where there's these little modules that you plug in all four corners of the car. It supposedly defeats the adaptive dampening. But to be honest with you, I didn't really want to mess with that, considering the issues that I had with this car. And I didn't want to open up a can of worms. I wanted something that's going to integrate perfectly, not give me any issues, and it was going to improve the complaints that I had originally with just the lowering springs. Now, like I mentioned in the video, the way the car has like a seesaw effect when you lower this car because the shock tuning is just, it's too soft. There's not enough rebound, there's not enough compression, and the algorithm of the programming is just not enough to control this car on the roads that I'm driving on. So it's constantly teetering back and forth, and a lot of times, even in race mode, the front of the car would bounce so much that it would actually smash and crash the lower carbon fiber front spoiler. That was just a common issue that I was facing almost every day. Now with the new kit, I have not hit that front spoiler, not even one time, okay? Going over speed bumps, broken up roads, potholes, driveways, it's just been absolutely awesome. And if anybody is concerned about that and is looking for a way to alleviate it, I'm going to tell you right now, this kit for about almost $4,000 will eliminate that and then some. Another thing I want to tell you guys too, I did not reinstall, when I did the installation, I did not reinstall the adjustable rear control arms because I wanted to test out the car without them. Now, a common complaint, and I mentioned it in a lot of my Alfa Romeo videos, when you drive this car hard with the lowering springs, you already lowered it to the ground, you have shock tuning that's just way too soft. So what happens is the car squats a lot. Now, when the car squats, you're affecting, your rear camber and your toe change. You're getting a massive toe change on this car. So when you get a toe change under hard acceleration, it makes the car very uneasy. Not only uneasy in a corner, whether you're entering a corner or exiting a corner, it makes the car extremely uneasy on a launch where it's all over the road. So now with the new dampening and the different springs and this whole new setup, I personally feel that I don't need to reinstall those rear adjustable control arms because the car is so well controlled and the dampening is that much better that I don't feel nervous. I don't feel uneasy when I go into a corner, when I'm accelerating hard. And I'll show you guys in a minute or so. We'll try to do a hard acceleration as soon as some of the traffic clears up. But the car feels great. Now, is it as firm as I would have liked? No. Unfortunately, there's really not a lot of options out there, you know, unless you want to defeat the entire adaptive system, which may also defeat traction control and the intelligent braking system and the throttle and all that. I don't want to mess with that. So unless you're building this into a full-blown track car, I don't see how you're going to possibly do it unless you do like a Moton or you know, motion control or something, a custom coilover kit spec'd out with different spring rates specifically for the tracks that you guys are going to be going on. But I don't think there's too many owners that own quadrifolios that are going to go that crazy. But then again, there might be a handful of you guys that have already done that. But for me, I'm just looking for increased street performance. I want good comfort and I want livability. And if I could solve some of the complaints along the way, then it's a win-win, you know, no matter what you look at. I mean, the only drawback, of course, is the price. So we're going to do a hard acceleration right now. And you can see there, almost 70 miles an hour, 0 to 70. The car did not squirm, did not go off course, did not feel nervous. You could see it in the steering wheel. It felt perfectly composed because the shock tuning and the dampening is that much more improved than OEM. Okay, and that's without the rear adjustable control arms. The back of the car camber is negative 1.8. If anybody's asking what that is, those are the current settings. Now up front, I have my camber set. Right now it's like 1.2. Now I bought the Ideal Race front camber kit, which is a bunch of longer ARP studs with some bolts. And I have not installed that yet because I'm waiting for a friend of mine that's going to do the alignment over to set that up. And everybody's just been so busy, you know, with time trying to, you know, schedule a date on when we could actually do that. So that's going to happen soon. And I may do a video in the shop showing the installation of the Ideal Race front camber kit. I mean, it's a very, very simple kit. It's just a bunch of shims with some spacers. It's totally foolproof. So the lower control arm has 2 bolts. You remove those 2 bolts. You install longer studs and you have a shim pack and a tool, and it's very, very straightforward and it's very affordable. It's like 250 bucks. So that's going to be going in the car soon, but so far the way the car feels, it's great. It's phenomenal. And I'm on the highway. We're doing 75 miles an hour. There's a lot of expansion joints and bumps, and I'm holding the, you know, look at the steering wheel. It stays perfectly straight even with the crown in the road. And you know, we're on a busy highway where it's got a lot of ruts in the road from all the tractor trailers. So the car stays perfectly straight. There's no issues with that whatsoever. So pretty much I'll conclude this video. If you guys, you know, really want to take that low ring spring upgrade to the next level, this is really what I would suggest you do. If you could afford it, hands down, place your orders, get the kit immediately. I'm actually a KW dealer, so if anybody out there is interested, you can order them directly through AutoFanatic. Just send me an inquiry through the AutoFanatic web shop and I will place an order. But I'm just going to let you know it's going to take probably a couple of months to get the kit. So, you know, if you guys are, you know, holidays are coming and all this now and you don't want to spend the money, you know, you just pay for the kit up front of your credit card, and when it comes in, we'll just drop ship it directly from Germany right to you. And, you know, that'll help everybody out. And if anybody has installation questions or needs any kind of support, you could always contact me. I'll talk to you guys about setting it up, especially the ride height. The ride height is super important on this car. You don't want to lower it too much. If you lower the back too much, you get too much camber, too much toe change. The car just doesn't feel right. It may look cool, but I'm talking about driving dynamics for everyday driving. If you want to go spirited, you want to go up north on some nice back roads, you don't want to overdo it with the ride height. That's going to affect the camber and the rear toe change, especially under hard acceleration. I think you guys are going to hate the car. You're going to probably crash it, you know, if the temperature conditions are not ideal, and it's just not something that I would recommend to any of you guys out there. So other than that, it's been a great kit. No complaints whatsoever, aside that a part of me wishes that it was firmer under some circumstances, but considering where I'm living right now, this is the absolute perfect suspension upgrade, full suspension upgrade that you could possibly do on this particular car right now. So like I said, if you guys have any questions, you could always contact me. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Auto Fanatic channel. Also visit the Auto Fanatic web shop and support, you know, the products and services that I offer. And I will catch you guys on an upcoming video soon. Take care, guys.